All right, we ready?
Yes, sir.
Very good. We'll now call the joint session workshop with CRA Advisory and CRA Board to order for September the 9th. Please rise for the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance. Invocation will be given by Deputy Mayor Jim Bernard.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day and thank you for your love. Thank you for being with all of us tonight. We ask you to protect our children, our first responders, our military here and all throughout the world. Especially, dear Lord, I ask for your guidance, your knowledge. Give us the right decisions and the best interest for the citizens of Avon Park. Do this in your role for the Lord. And do this in Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May be seated. Please call the roll.
Yes, sir. Starting with the CRA Board, Member McGuire.
Here.
Member McCure.
Here.
Member Taylor.
Here.
Member Vice Chair Bernard.
Here.
Chair Anderson.
Here.
CRA Advisory Board, Chair Hayes. Member Seveny.
Here.
Member Jarrett.
Here.
Member Downey.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right. We only have one item. This will be the fiscal year 24-25 draft CRA budget discussion. Melody, would you like to start?
Yes, at the last CRA advisory board meeting, they went over the budget and put some things in there for each of the CRAs. I was just speaking to Chair Hayes, and I didn't get some of them right, so I guess they want to talk through them a little bit. You know, they went back and forth about what they wanted to do at Donaldson Park. So I think maybe, Chair Hayes, if you want to.
Yep. I had met earlier with Chair Hayes. I and Jason had gone over a few things out there at Donaldson Park as to the scope of those pickleball courts. If you want to get into a little bit more detail as to what you're thinking.
I think we were at a meeting of the minds as far as location and also the amounts total for the park would be $700,000 between the splash pad and the pickleball courts.
Mm-hmm.
Probably able to do both of those in that amount. If we did run short on one or the other, the particular amounts that are here, Jason interjected that he had looked at another park that had spent around $150,000 for the splash pad, so we were well over on that amount. So transferring that over to the pickleball court so we could, have it in a shade on it.
Okay.
The shade sets us aside in the county. It makes it, we would have 8 premier shaded pickleball courts, which would make us special in the county. And Dana, which has been advising us a little bit, said that he felt that we would have people there from 8 o'clock in the morning, ending around 2, and then another group, at 12, and then another group starting at 12, going to 8 o'clock at night, 7 days a week.
Wow.
That's a lot of traffic. And then the other idea that we had that I discussed with Member Jarrett, that we can use this thing for more than pickleball. Because if you put up a building out there or a shade that's 132 by 132 is approximately where we're at.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe some adjustments that Jason would have to make with the engineer and architect, but so we can avoid the gas line. It would give us a place to set up a band, have a bunch of chairs in there, not have to worry about whether it rains or not.
Sure.
We could have, venues, food trucks, that sort of thing down there for special events, and have a really, really nice, shut it down for that weekend,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is, and maybe get off of Main Street so much. Maybe set vendors up back in there, you know,
Okay.
on special events so we don't have to close Main Street, you know, and people going down back roads, you know, neighborhoods trying to get to the event.
Mm-hmm.
That was Jason that brought that up. So it
I
would be
think
the
it's-
line items with Donaldson Park on it, and then the 100 East Main Street. I think that's very open yet. I don't think we've made any decisions there on amount or availability of the money compared to what it would be used for that building.
Okay.
You know, the comments were made that we need to save the building, but we don't need to make it new. So, you know,
Right.
that amount may change,
Okay.
but at least it's in the budget.
Sure. So obviously it plays into a larger master plan for what Donaldson Park will be long term. That obviously needs to be delineated, needs to be drawn up. This would, I know there was some push from the CRA board, at least from what I had heard, that they wanted to go ahead and accomplish one or multiple of these tasks at Donaldson Park this year, rather than waiting another couple of years to try to get something going. So, is anyone opposed to moving 200,000 from the splash pad to the pickleball courts? Is that what you're proposing? Is anyone opposed
Yes.
to doing something like that?
No, I have a couple quick questions first.
Yeah, go ahead.
Not first, but including, one, I assume when you talk about these courts, you talk about tournament quality.
Yes.
Okay, that's really, really important part that I really need to know. And then as far as the design of the splash pads, have we come up with a design option, whether the water is going to come out of the ground or whether it's going to come out of
Jason may want to speak to that.
Okay.
While he's coming up, when you say tournament quality, it's going to have the width to that's required for tournament courts? Because I know that was an issue when we talked about it before, that the width was not sufficient. But they were going to be out. They're still going to be the best in the county, but they just weren't going to be tournament quality as you're speaking.
Yes, they would be 8 foot on the perimeter. 6 foot is tournament play for the separation of the courts one to another, instead of the 4 foot, you know, and that's what we did. The budget that I kind of set up, that I was asked to set up, I actually made them bigger than that. So it's going to be up to the architect and engineer, you know, as far as the site work goes, as to exactly how much free space we have, because the building will take up some space on both sides, because the main beams will be situated east and west. So the building can face north-south. The courts can face north-south, like tournament courts are.
Right.
So we've tried to kind of lay it out to where it's definitely tournament size,
Okay.
and it
Good.
has the center corridor, breezeway, whatever you want to call it, in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
That's 16 feet wide. So it can have bleachers facing both directions, both courts, so the next people can stage for their event.
Very nice.
And,
Okay. Good.
you know, refreshments and that sort of thing. So it's set up, you know, for that.
Great.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you. Jason?
Okay, so for the. There you go. Jason Agason, Public Works Director. So for the splash pad, there was something that I can gauge it off of. There was another splash pad, a former employer of mine. They built it. It all ranges in how big you want the splash pad, but usually you have the design features. So whatever's there, some stuff can come out, some water can come out of the ground. Others have fixtures. It may be a mushroom comes out, whatever sprays around. Usually you'll have like a little sensor that the kids will go up and they'll touch it and it'll go on for say 10, 15 minutes and then it'll shut off. And then that way, if for some reason it's not in use, it'll just shut down and then, you know, kind of it conserves water. And you can set that at what the intervals that you want for the touch button. But yeah, you can have all kinds of different things. It's usually, you know, it's powder coated features. Whether it's different, whether it's green, yellow, could be powder coated silver, and whatever it is that you design, kind of look through a book and whatever you come up with, what you like, and then you just go through and you get the quotes and put it in. And then there's a a play surface. It's that way if the kids slip and fall, they don't get hurt. That's usually a little bit of a challenge because sometimes it gets a little mold on it, but you have to just stay up with it and make sure it's clean, pressure wash frequently. And that's that. I mean, it's kind of how you build it. So the one that we were looking at, I think it was like a 130, 140 range. But if you want a little bit bigger, I think I said, what was that, like how many square feet did I say? 450, 400, something like that. Yeah. So however big you want it, however many features, it can get real big or it can be, a little bit smaller.
What do you think of the size, Garrett?
Well, I was going to, we talked about a circle size before. The one that Jason had shown was kind of like a half circle or kidney bean kind of shape. But 430 square feet seems like a pretty big splash pad to me. I mean, considering how big that park is and considering that we've never had one,
Yep.
I'd say it'd be a heck of an addition for sure.
Okay, I like it. Good answers, thank you.
Jason, I have a question. This particular splash pad that you wanted to take 200,000 and put with the pickleball court, and so that would leave an amount where this splash pad that we're now looking at, if we were to take the 200,000 from it, on a scale of a high splash pad to a low, what type of splash pad are we getting? We're getting a high scale one with this amount, or it's on the low scale?
Okay, so
It looked like something you would see at Legoland. I mean, it was. Wow. No, I'm not saying it's Legoland by any means, but I'm just saying that the quality, everything was powder coated. I mean, it looks like something you've seen in a lot of kiddie parks,
Right.
And the circle, if you did it in a circle shape, that 430 square feet would be roughly a 35-foot circle.
yeah, so 482 square feet. So if you did the 20 times 20, that's 400, right? But I mean, if you want to get something, probably you can make it bigger if you want, right? You can make it a size. It all depends on the budget, what we want to spend. So,
Okay, so the question is, we're going to spend $150,000 on the splash pad. Is this what you considered on the low scale of splash pads, or is it a high?
I think that's on the lower
Yeah,
scale.
The quality, the quality of it, and what we're getting for $150,000.
Well, this one that I was referenced was installed in Bow Harbor. So Bow Harbor is a very luxurious community. They want the best of the best, and what they were able to get was, they told me the install was $95,000, the engineering was $28,000. Right, so that's like $123,000. But that was a year or two ago. Maybe the price has gone up a little bit. But it's however you want to design it. We want to make something nicer, then it's like kind of like a la carte, but however you want to build it. Mm-hmm. So I think for if we want something bigger but still nice, I think we can probably do it for 180, somewhere around there. Mm-hmm. Like big for a large amount. Like this park would have more kids than down there, but it's all how you want to go about doing it. It's what you set aside, and then I work with the numbers you give me.
Yeah, more than likely it would be how much space do we want to devote to it, and then you would work on filling it up with objects and sprayers and things. So there's going to be a certain amount of money that's going to be there regardless of how big it is, just because of the pumps and the underground infrastructure and yada yada. They're pretty complex.
And we decided to go with a half circle.
No, that was
I'm
just the example that he was showing.
So, but I'm asking Jason, what are we going with?
I'm not.
We
There's
talked
pla-
about a baseball-shaped circle. That's what we had talked about at our last meeting, but we can do whatever.
Yeah, when this came about, it was the lead was Sean. He was looking at it. He was getting the pricing. I knew on the backside I had provided this pricing to give him an estimate, but I didn't know what conversations he had with the board, the advisory board, and the CRA board. But it's whatever needs to take place. Whatever, if you give me 180, 200,000, then we can go with that, and we can price it out, and maybe whether we go up with an RFQ to figure out who can do it and see who's got the best designs, and then they kind of tailor it towards what you want. And we just make sure that it's in the location that we desire, and we go from there. We have utilities and we have other things available for that. So and there's plenty of space in the park to put that.
I just have a question about you. I don't know if you mentioned it a few minutes ago about the flooring, the ground part of it. Is that going to be the ground up plastic, or not plastic, but rubberized material?
It's somewhat of a spongy material, but it's a little bit stronger.
Mm-hmm.
It's not mushy. It's gotta run the water. The water will run off.
Okay.
And it's usually, I would say, probably like a half gets, from what I recall, because I had to strip it.
Mm-hmm.
There's some that you have to go and replace that flooring because over time it kind of gets beat up a little bit. It looked like it was about a ½ inch, more or less, thick. So, but it's a special material that they put down.
Okay. And again, we're not necessarily trying to come up with a final plan here. This is just a budget meeting, so we're sort of trying to decide how much money we want to devote towards it.
Okay, I have are we done with the pickleball and the splash? Or we gotta vote on it?
Well, I mean, this is all a budget meeting, so I'm assuming your next question doesn't have anything to do with either of those.
Right.
Does anybody else have anything, any comments or questions on the
No.
pickleball or splash pad?
No, I think they're both good ideas as is.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
If we can, with your indulgence, can we elaborate a little bit more on the future of this building? I compliment Chairman Hayes for showing us as we walk the property, but this is a fairly large structure. It'll change the dynamic of that whole park to the positive, but it will come with an expense for the next 20 years. And we have the ability to set up in the budget maintenance to maintain these facilities. I'm sorry?
The attorney just said not in the CRA.
Okay. So with that, my nature in business is to get an affirmation that the city council is prepared to take on the necessary maintenance of this facility and the repaving or the recoding of the facility if it gets the traffic others outside of this committee deems it might, both from the sport and from the activity of various, to be able to rent the facility out on a weekly basis. All things that are great that it brings, but there'll come expense later that is not in the budget today for the city.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very excited about it, but I want to hear affirmation that this is a good thing to have this in the budget.
Okay. Can staff comment on that at all?
If we're not allowed to address it from a CRA point of view, to maintain a facility that we built or help it.
Well, obviously, asking the question of, from the council, will the council fund it? A little problematic. That's why I asked the staff if there's enough maintenance money there to.
So it's
handle
not in the budget currently, and I would not know how much it would cost to run something like that. It would be water, I would imagine, and some guys' time, but we could always revise the budget or increase the general fund budget.
it. Okay.
So on the splash pad, we did put a little there for that and a little bit extra for maintenance. So there's some coverage in that area with water and everything else.
In the current proposed budget?
Yes.
you're saying? Okay.
Yes.
There would
Yep.
there would also be electric in that, because we got to light the courts. So that would have to be in somebody's budget too to, in the evening time or, it's cloudy, they want to use the lights, having that availability.
Sure.
Looking at the budget and seeing where I believe, and we would probably go with some LED lights, and it would be better, actually less than probably the current lights that are out there. They have issues themselves with the ballasts, but they're high efficiency and they're going to be within the building. So the structure that we were speaking about, instead of having light poles, it's just going to be attached to the actual frame of the building. So we save there. And I believe for maintenance, I think having it shaded is going to drastically increase the life of the courts because you're not getting that direct Avon Park sunlight that we all love. And Yeah, I think we have staff, we have staffing in the parks, and I think currently we have a good amount of staff. So once everything starts coming in, looking clean, I think it'll look nice. Because usually when something looks nice, it stays nice, usually. So I believe we have the staffing available to do that.
And the intent was that, as Rick had pointed out, that this would be used for other, so the entire inside of that building, except for the floor, would not look like pickleball courts. It's basically just a flat, so the removal of items and putting them back, nets and poles and seating, would be a constant of storage, and I just want to go in eyes wide open. I think it's all a wonderful thing, but I want it all said, early on as possible.
And let me just bring up one thing with regard to the lights. If you're going to be playing at night, hopefully there's not any homes or hotels nearby that might be affected by that, because there's nothing more noisy than a pickleball court.
No, one of the considerations was by the advisors, we have to be done by 8, or you're just going to have a room full constantly. You have, to your point, exactly. This is a very noisy sport.
It is.
For the 100 yards away.
I can hear it from my house. It's a long ways off.
Yeah, so this is a daytime sport.
So thankfully, in this particular spot, there's only roughly 4 to 5 apartments, and then there's 2 homes. The same family owns all of that, and I have spoken to them. And originally, when I spoke to them, I was talking about concerts, which would be far louder than the pickleball, and they were all for it. I went back and talked to them about the pickleball specifically. Of course, they didn't know what pickleball was, but I told them it was like tennis but louder, and they didn't think that was going to be a problem for them. So,
thank you.
But if you notice, there's church properties that surround one whole side of it, and then you've got Main Street on one whole side of it. The shuffleboard courts on the other side, and then you've got a lake. So, I don't think it would be that big of a deal.
I agree.
Yeah, if you're running 12 to 12, you're probably, or 8 to 8, you're probably pretty good. 12 hours, not too bad, as long as it doesn't go longer than 8, I wouldn't think.
I agree with that, but I also think that it's time for Avon Park to step up and look like a premier city like that we deserve, and this is one way to do it, as well as bring business and other outsiders to come down and shop at our local businesses. So I think all in all, the return will be more than worth it.
Well, hopefully the noise would attract more people.
Well, we can also use natural noise buffers,
Right.
Hedges and things like that too. That would look just
Well,
as nice.
Of course, bear in mind, we're doing this to remove slum and blight in the Main Street area, and hopefully that's the point.
It'll look good when we're done with it. Plus, to your point, we can hopefully have some cost recovery for any staff. If there needs to be some adjustment. So if someone wants to have an event that we do something, unless it's a city event, and then we'll have the cost recovery there for the staffing need.
I went to Donaldson Park last weekend for a birthday party, and they had heard a few little things about what we were kind of planning, so they were asking me about it. But everything that I mentioned, they were all so excited about what was coming and wanting to use it, and it was all young families. So, I mean, I think it would be a great thing for downtown.
I do
Bring
too.
a lot of people down there.
Yep.
It's cost effective for the
Yeah.
families. They're always looking for that. So,
And it covers all age groups.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also very excited about having a large shaded area for other events. It's the one dynamic that we haven't really had at Donaldson Park.
Yep.
This would provide that. I can't tell you how many times we've heard of somebody wanting to do an event in the summertime, and they say, "Oh, we got rained out," or "Oh, we heard it's gonna be
Right.
bad weather," yada yada yada.
Yeah, I remember even the last Blueberry Festival, which was very, very crowded, trying to find places to sit down and eat your food, and obviously no shade, so it really come in handy for something like that too.
Yeah.
As well as other new events in the future.
right.
I'm all for it.
Just
Yes, sir.
one thing, and I think this goes with what Bill said. I don't think you ought to open it up for rental anytime anybody wants to rent it. You know, the the festivals we have and the special events that we have, great. But to open it up to where it could be busy every Saturday night, you have to take all that stuff down and put it all back up
Right.
every week. That would be an undertaking. But just for special events like, the festivals we already have,
Yep.
Not, making this a rental
Yep.
venue,
Mm-hmm.
because it might just cover you up.
Sure. You have something?
Would this be available to the public?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. When you say rental, you talk about what? Someone that wants to host their own tournament?
No, somebody that wanted to do something else other than a tournament. Some other, maybe a band, or,
Oh.
use it for something else.
You talking about the park itself, or you talking about the pickleball
Pickleball
court?
courts.
So what else can they do on the pickleball court besides play pickleball?
Well, you can take the nets down. They do it once in a while down at Sun and Lake. They take some of the nets down and use it as a gathering area. And that's what you would be doing there on special events, is saying, okay, no pickleball this weekend because the festival's going on, and we're going to use it as
I see.
shade and
Yeah,
place for people to sit, and
I see.
So it would be exclusive for city use.
yeah.
Public. It
I
has
mean,
to be public.
personally, that's what I would recommend, because this thing's going to be dynamic. I mean, if it happens, it's going to be something.
Yes.
They're able to take those down and those nets down and put them back up when they're not droopy.
They've come a long way with that.
Because it's not a good thing.
Yeah.
And I just want to note too, this is all preliminary. We just need you guys to give us the number so that we can move forward with planning these out. There's obviously going to be meetings where we hash all these details out. So I just want to keep that in mind.
Or do we
Okay.
need to make a motion on this, or we're gonna wait to?
And Eric, one more thing.
Yep.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Piggyback off of what Rick and Bill said, I think it's gonna be pretty dynamic as it grows. Probably need to have refreshments or some type of something involved with refreshments for it too. So that should probably be built in, whether it's obviously not CRA built, it'd be town built. But that would have to be considered too. To Jerry's point earlier, you're gonna have some type of a refreshment plan, just to throw it in there.
Okay. All right. Anything else on the pickleball or the splash pad?
No, sir.
Okay. Bernice, you had something?
Yeah, I got a question on the gateway improvement. Who's that? Who's going to answer that question?
What's the question?
Depends on what the question
What are the gateway improvement? What are we talking about here? Are these the entrance into the cities? What?
It was just a generic line item. We're still checking to make sure that that is something we can do under our CRA plan. But we wanted to have the line item in there in case that is something we can move forward with. But there's no specific project set up for that. There's been many discussions on doing some sort of gateway sign for Main Street, but nothing that's ever been solidified.
Okay.
So you're just voting on right now the Donaldson Park stuff, right? You're not voting
This
on
is
the
all
whole
Main Street.
Main Street thing, because there's some things that need some scrutiny, like that, like you said, the gateway improvements, small beautifications, signs. Those are usually not approvable type issues for CRA funds, but that doesn't say that there absolutely are. It's just obviously we need to know what the details are for those.
So that's why we don't have a project set up for it, but we would like the opportunity to be able to if it's something that would fall within the statute.
Yep.
So we left the line item in there, which again could always be through budget amendment. We could always shift those to a different project if need be.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Okay.
We had originated this conversation based on the signs at the north and south end of town that were erected 20 years ago.
Longer than that, I believe.
That, I think.
Wasn't it, Rick?
And it appears for the citizens and maybe those passing through that there's not much that's been done on a standard 5-10 year period.
Sure.
And didn't know if it fell back to this advisory board to maintain its own. And that's what started the discussion, and then through others who have done this before, the terminology ended up on the budget.
Yeah, we put it on the budget. It was in the general fund budget. on streets. I'd put the money there for the signs coming in.
Okay.
So mall beautification, Jason, do you think $100,000 is enough? And the reason why I'm asking is, we haven't done anything to the mile-long mall in a long time. And I know the community has come in here and complained about it, and, you know, we was hoping we can get something done with the CRA, but, you know, Mr. Burke keep telling us that, you know, he don't know if it falls under that. So if it does, is that enough?
It's enough to get
do
go.
you think we allocated enough? Because I see that Mile-Long Mall need a lot of beautification. Some of that greenery inside of there needs to be taken out, and you know, it's just like a lot of junk, a lot of woods up in there.
I think you're breaking Jason's heart right now.
So, but Jason, you
All
know
the
what
effort
I'm
he's put
talking
in.
about. Jason, know what I'm talking about. It's certain areas right there by Maryland Fried Chicken. Before you get to Maryland Fried, it's just a lot of bushes thrown in there together. There's no organization or what. So back to the mall beautification. I just thought that since we haven't put a lot of money into the mall beautification in a long time, if Jerry find it that we can authorize this one day, I just thought maybe $100,000, we probably can take something from this gateway improvement and put toward this mall beautification, because I think everybody in this room would love to see that 1 mile mall be just outstanding like it was back in the 70s.
All right.
In the
Yes,
80s.
agree.
I
Agree.
like that.
Right. So to answer that question, 100,000 will not do the entire mall,
Okay.
but it will make some it will make some very good impacts at the entrances to the mall, some key spots that we want to decide to put some, whatever we want to do there, whether we get going with plans, we get going with more of a walking path, whatever it is. And there's good news coming down where it's a good chance that may be our property to where we can do what we want to do there without having to go ask the state, do you mind if we do that? Because even if we want to do something there, just say we wanted to put something really nice in front of the new baseball museum. Say we want to put some sculptures out there, put something nice in those 3 empty kind of plots. I still would have to go get the approval from FDOT in order to do that, but we're really close to where then we'll be able to start doing things. But as far as landscaping, when I do kind of how we readjusted in our organization is getting a little better. We're still bringing in staff, but we can go a lot further with our dollar if we do in-house installations. But if I do it outside, then it'll be much faster. It's just I will get about a third less done because of the cost. So just say it cost me $5,000 with in-house staff, then likely on the outside it's going to be about $13,000 to $14,000 to do that.
Well, I would like the council to pretty much say if there's any left in any one of these line items and we need it on the Mile-Long Mall, we could definitely use it there.
I'll agree with that.
But go ahead, Jim.
Well, I've actually, a few meetings ago, I talked about the fact that I am conservative on this because I'm fairly new to CRAs. You just asked me to start doing this, a year or two ago. But I did mention that I would retain somebody that can assist us with this in a more, I guess, open manner. And I did find somebody, Cliff Shepard is the counsel for the Florida Redevelopment Association, the FRA, and I asked him if he'd be willing to, give us some advice from time to time on some of these issues that are close calls, and there's a lot of concern about what had done. And he said he would be happy to do that. So I'll get that together and let you guys hear some of these things from somebody else who it's not necessarily conservative, other than the fact that the statutes have made us very conservative as of 2019. Before that, we were pretty liberal, but after that, the statutes were changed. We were not so much. So we should have more assistance with that in the future.
A question. Did we have a carryover from the mall beautification, the FY24? Do we have carryover to this budget?
That's what's in there. We just brought it
We
forward.
just brought it forward? Okay.
Has anybody talked to DOT about the possibility of, if they want, like another lane or 2 lanes of traffic on the mall and then give the rest to the city?
FDOT
Is it-
has approached us about taking over jurisdiction of Main Street as part of the condition that they would move forward with the Main Street repaving. So right now that's going back and forth. So we're not quite there yet, but the discussions are occurring.
All right, good, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, and the FDOT's already out there doing inventory on their storm drainage system. So you see them out there checking. That's FDOT. It's out there getting their asset management, checking everything. So maybe that's at a point where it comes over.
Yeah, and the reality is that it would take millions of dollars if you wanted to completely redo all of Main Street. And there's millions of dollars of work that needs to be done out there. So we would need DOT grants. And whenever the discussions first happened with the resurfacing project, DOT was very open to hearing some of our submittals, and especially anything that has to do with pedestrian safety, more walkability, more useful, attracting more families downtown. So I think there will definitely be grants in the future from DOT to the tune of hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, that would help in redoing all of Main Street. I don't think we're going to get there, with $100,000, as you know, but it looks like there's definitely a lot of help that can be had over the next, 5 or 6 years. Particularly if we're able to get Main Street in Avon Park's hands.
I have a question about the maintenance. If this is a CRA project, basically, then why couldn't we add a line item in there for CRA maintenance?
Because it doesn't fall under the statute as an allowable item with CRA funds. So we're able to make the improvements, but any kind of maintenance falls on the city, not the CRA.
Yeah, the statute's pretty clear about that.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So this is a workshop. So you're not looking for motions, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. So is it the consensus of this board and the CRA advisory that we should take $200,000 from the Donaldson Park splash pad and put it with the pickleball courts line items to make it 150 and 550?
I agree.
Is anyone opposed to that? Okay. Are there any other changes that need to be made at this point?
Yeah, I would like for you guys to agree that if there's anything left over in some of the line items, that we can put it toward mile on mile.
Yeah, we just don't have any way of knowing that yet. So.
I know, I'm just saying, if it get to that point, when we get there and
Right.
we need more money,
We
Right.
understand that
We
as
understand.
staff that we would need to do that.
Okay.
So
That's
at
not a
that
problem.
time, there would be a specific request that would come before the board, and then the board would vote on it at the time.
Correct.
I'd be for that.
But I don't think anybody's opposed to it.
No.
All right, anything else for this workshop?
Yeah.
South side?
So the next slide is just going to show you the 5-year history of the Main Street CRA. And then south side are things that the advisory board discussed.
Okay, is there any specific things to discuss there, or are we just looking at what you've presented?
No, we're just presenting the information so that
Okay.
both boards are aware.
Any questions or comments on the south side budget?
I have a question. The other projects, the other projects, does that have to do with the lighting and the cameras and the security in the area?
That's a generic line item. It gives
Oh.
us the ability that if we need to put it
Okay.
towards a project that comes before you guys, we can have that flexibility.
Okay.
Okay, and what about the purchase of 923 South Avenue? What address is that? I went out looking for that address today.
I looked myself, but one of the things I seen that there was some property that's there we were looking at to try to, it's on Hal McRae. So there's some property on the north side of Hal McRae right there across from the businesses. Trying to remember the name of the
Is
street.
it Hal
by the-
McRae and Delaney?
It's in between. It's in between. So Hal McRae, it's I think it's I want to say it's Verona,
Verona.
Yeah,
Hal McRae and
yeah.
Verona.
So there's a piece of property. It's got a bench there, and people will sit there and they'll look in. There's like three parcels of land. I know there's one I seen on Zillow the other day. It was for sale for like $20,000. That was on the south side. I think it's 4,500. It's a more of a narrow but kind of deeper lot. So the thought process is that we were looking and seeing plenty of the community out, and they were at the mart that's there. I call it mini mart, but there's an area with an oak tree, and everyone kind of gathers around there.
Oh, you talking about Leroy's?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
So
Leroy's.
so we were looking at putting something in that park, or buying that land instead of just having an overgrown empty lot, and then putting some kind of nice park there with some concrete tables that are set up for like dominoes and different things that the community may like to do instead of standing.
So let me make sure I understand the area you're talking about, the location. You're talking about on the corner of Hal McRae and Delaney. Do I have it right? Because Jason, I would say absolutely not.
Okay.
And the reason why I would say that, who you gonna get to sit up there? The drug dealers? Because you ain't gonna get the community to go out there. You know, they're afraid of that area to go up there and talk about sitting up there because of the bullets.
Okay.
If we're talking about the same location.
Yeah, no, I understand. I'm not gonna. You won't hear me say that. I go by there all the time. A lot, and there's one of our employees sits out there a lot. So I kind of ran it by him, and I ran by another person that was on the. I don't know if it's officially on the advisory board for CRA, but it said, "Oh, that's excellent." And it was amongst the group that was there, thought it was an excellent
Absolutely
spot.
not.
Okay.
I wouldn't agree with that, Jason. You're going to get certain people to go sit up there, and I hate to say it, but if we're going to do a park, everybody should be able to enjoy it and not just a few. Everybody should be able to enjoy it. If we're going to put a park down there on the south, everybody should be able to get some enjoyment out of it and not just a few. No. Me and you need to sit down and talk one day, Jason.
Is this the property that's right across from Leroy's, the field that's right across the street from it?
If I'm right, it sits on the corner of Hal McRae, in front of the what we call the different clubs that they hang out at, and then across there that is owned by the McRae's family. Across there's two different lots across each other from Hal McRae. So I'm thinking he's talking about the one that's closer to the club.
South Verona is the main street. South Ave is a small little through street, the one way, and then South Delaney. So there's an area around in that area that I was looking at that would be a spot. And
Can I add something? So I think the idea is with CRA funds, you're trying to mitigate slum and blight. So the thought process that went into it was that we were trying to create an environment that would allow people to enjoy CRA funds.
I get it.
So that was the premise.
I get it.
This was something that I had presented as a potential idea for Jason to explore. So it's really not on Jason, it's on me. Because I thought it would be a great opportunity to start to change a dynamic, right?
If there was another location, the ideal is great. It's just a location. No, absolutely not.
yeah, see, Aleem McWhite is like 100 yards away from there, and we're putting a lot into Aleem McWhite. So some of my experience, because I grew up down in Miami, and I played in Goulds Park, baseball, and everything else. The more people and the more positive things that you do in an area, the less that people want to do the wrong thing will be there. That's just from my experience.
Okay, that's
So-
from your area, where you from.
but-
I wish I could say that
Right.
about the
So
area that I grew up in.
But right now, what's there is it's a sheriff's office tower
We talking
that
about-
just sits there.
We're talking about the
And
same
that
area.
that is a sign of a really bad area. So I think it would, if you had a gathering and you have the good people there, I think the good people would force the bad people to want to go somewhere else. Like Aleem McWhite, we started to
So I guess
lift
we
it.
just take it out.
No, Jason, if the state of Florida approved recreation marijuana, that's what that area gonna be. They're gonna have a ball right there.
So it sounds like other projects is getting an additional $75,000. Is that what I'm hearing?
No. I'm sorry, say it again, Mayor.
So it sounds like the $75,000 that was going to go towards that is going towards other projects. Does that sound right?
I don't agree with that right there. If Jason got another location, because Jason, to tell the truth, the elders in the community, they would love to have a place to go and sit down because they walk their dogs. Some of them walk the community, and they would love to have a place to go sit down. If you were really interested in giving the community another location,
Really interested. Whatever you decide, whatever you think is a great idea, I'd love to hear it,
Okay,
and then that way we can bring it forward and see what we
Duly
can do.
noted, not that area.
yeah.
Yeah, so just for the purposes of budgeting, if we add the 75 to the other projects, it can be used for some other park down the line. You're not getting rid of the money, so that'd be the safest thing to do.
Okay.
Understood.
So is anyone opposed to adding the $75,000 from 923 South Ave to the other projects line item?
No.
Sounds great. That's what we'll do. Anything else for the South Side budget?
Yeah, facade grants.
Okay.
How many, Ms. Christie, how many applications we got in right now?
Right now, I'm working on 20 that are just pending some updated bids.
And that is gonna eat up the rest of the money we got, plus go into next year? Possible?
I say that's safe to say.
And so therefore, I think facade grant, we should have allocated more than 110,000. Because I'm planning on turning in another 25 applications if possible. So I think we should have allocated more than 110,000 for the facade grants.
Where are you gonna take the money from?
That's 75, that's what we can use it at.
Do you think adding more facade grants is better than adding a park facility or something else?
Well, we could get a grant for the parks.
Well, maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just asking a question.
Mayor, I'm concerned about the dilapidated homes on the south side, and I'm working real hard. If I had to choose between a park and beautifying some of those homes and making them look half decent, I'm going with the facade grants.
Okay.
Didn't you also say you'd like to see things where the whole community could use it?
They are. Or if I put out 20 applications, it's a lot of people is utilizing this money. There's 20 homes that's utilizing this money. I mean, it just needs to be cleaned up. And I'm not saying that we don't need a park. It's like Shelley said, maybe we can go and get us some type of grant for that. But if you got somebody out there cleaning it up, y'all let me clean it up. That's all I'm saying. Let me clean it up.
Is anyone opposed to adding the
75,000?
$75,000
No, let's do it and get it over with.
to the facade grants?
I'm not opposed.
I'm not necessarily opposed to it. If the houses are dilapidated and stuff like that, I know the county has a lot of resources too, because facade grants, we can only, fix the outside.
I'm making a difference.
Right, it's only fixing the outside though. So if it's somebody that needs, if their ceiling fell in or their house is not livable, then I think we should also push them towards those other resources that the county has to actually fix the house, from the inside out as well.
We should.
So I still think, kind of to Jason's point, if you have an area that, in your words, is really rough, leaving it looking really rough, I don't feel like really is helping the city. If the city purchased that property, I don't even know how much the property was. I think he said 20,000 or something like that. Then that kind of gives the city more authority over that area as well. So I guess it's kind of like a catch-22. I feel like we need the facade grants to clean up some of the houses, but I feel like we need kind of a deeper dive in some of the other areas as well. So painting someone's house versus cleaning up an area that you said is, more attractive to crime or whatever. I think we need to pay attention to that as well.
I do. I think we need to pay attention to that. If we're gonna get one, if we're gonna do that, I just don't think that's a good location. And I'm in that area more than anybody probably in this room. I can tell you about that area. I travel that area.
It may not attract some of the individuals that you think would use it, but then at the same time, will it detour the individuals that you don't want to see there?
Now, I think the only deter that area got is when that sheriff department camera go up there. That's the only deter that's gonna be, and me and you know that can't stay up there 24 hours, 7 days a week. I think that's the deterrent that area gets from right there.
Rick?
If we did the 75,000 for facade grants, we give a lot of facade grants. If we were to move that money, we still have other projects, 102,000, so we could have our cake and eat it too here. We could up the amount of money that we put into the facade area and then also
Look
do
at
what
those
we
other
want to do with
areas,
that land
yeah.
because we have another 100,000 in special projects.
Right. And I'm
So
not
we
saying
can do both.
And I'm not saying that we give it all the 75,000 to the facade grant. I just don't believe 110 is enough.
Yeah.
Okay. How about 50,000 additional to facade grants and 25,000 additional to
I like
other
that.
projects? Does that sound good?
That sounds good.
Is anybody opposed to that?
No.
We have a deal. Anything else on the south side?
Chrissy, whatever came about with the cemetery down
I've actually been working with them. I've received actual bid proposals, and we're planning on presenting that at the September 23rd meeting. That is included in the budget.
Is that under the other project?
Yes, ma'am.
Could we,
Anything else for the south side?
not to change the budget, but while we're on that item of purchasing property, it's the first time I've seen it. And I would like to use Jerry's resource in Tallahassee or wherever he's located in this fine state of ours to clarify the purchasing of property and disposing of property after we've cleaned it up, or will it always have to stay in city, on the city roll?
Well,
And-
I mean, there's a difference between like developing a park, or a building and then maintaining it afterwards, as opposed to if you have a piece of raw land, that's in the CRA. I mean, that's something I believe they probably could maintain. But, developing something and then saying, okay, well, let's have the city maintain it, that's more of an issue.
My thoughts, individual, not been discussed by anybody, was can we purchase property where others don't have the resources to purchase and clean or put back and then dispose of it? Help them with these funds, remove slum and blight in the purchasing of property that the current owner has no resources in which to do anything but what we've seen for 10 years.
And you would be developing it, or you would be contracting it out to develop, or selling it to develop?
That's where my questions start.
Yeah, so the purchasing of property is allowed by the CRA. That's actually one of the statutory mentioned ones. But, to remove slum and blight, then, developing something that, that is nicer, that's clearly allowed. Selling it, okay, but there, it has to be fair market value now.
Would
The
the
whole
property?
dominoes could take place,
Yeah.
everything you've read.
Yeah, if there's like a proposal on that, if somebody wants to write it up and send it to me, I'd be happy to look it over and talk to Cliff about that.
Mr. Jarrett, is your example of taking a property that's severely overgrown, like a home lot or something, that's got trees on it, that's been dilapidated for 50 years, the CRA buy it, tear all that down, clear it, and then sell it? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
With the purpose never to hold on to it,
Right.
but just to move it along to its next life.
I'm doing one in Sebring right now for the CRA.
Well,
Sobeys.
My gut reaction is to that is it's probably okay, but I'd like to look at it and see.
And that just takes me back to I haven't experienced the selling of property through the CRA and recouping funds
Yeah.
in this brief tenure here.
Like I said, I mean, purchasing property to eliminate slum and blight is absolutely mentioned in the statutes. It's one of the. There's not a whole lot of things mentioned that in there, but that's one of them. So.
Thank you.
Hey, Jerry, just to pivot off of the use of Clifford, will that be an ongoing retention or retaining him for services, or will that be something you need to run by him?
Yeah.
Will he be present, or will that be?
That was my presumption is that, whenever we need him for a meeting or something like that, perhaps he could attend by Zoom.
Okay.
He does represent another city, I think somewhere, I think he's out of Orlando area. But perhaps, I'll talk to him about that, And I just shot him an email, actually, so, asking him to give me a call so we can talk about how we can get this done the best way for him and us.
I think that's a brilliant pivot. I appreciate that.
Sure, no problem.
Anything else for the south side? Moving on to airport.
So these are things that some of them were moved forward from last year. We added the Dura Martin Park, 120,000.
Okay, any questions on the airport?
Yeah, I have one on Durham Morton Park. Melanie, how much did we spend on it last year?
Not through the CRA, we didn't spend anything.
Didn't spend
Nothing?
anything.
No.
And so, I don't know. I don't know. Is it just me? It seems like we're allocating a lot of money to do certain things, but I don't see nothing happening.
That's because it's not approved yet.
I mean, so the things that we got approved last year.
I can't speak to that. I know a lot of times we were applying for grants. Some of the grants didn't pan out. That's one of the big things.
So isn't it true with Dura Martin in particular that we had a grant of some sort that we could not carry out because we could not
That's correct. It was for
delineate
that.
our ownership of a park that we've owned for 50, 100 years?
That is correct. They would not accept the documentation that we had as proof of ownership.
And that was for a FERDAP, was it?
Correct.
Yes.
So it kind of set us back.
And that was roughly 200,000.
And it
So
was a
we had
matching
intended
grant.
on spending 200,000 on Dura Martin with the FERDAP grant, and we couldn't do that. So that's one reason why you see it here. You have to come up to the microphone. Name and address, please, for the record.
Maria Sutherland, 900 West Main. If you have a title opinion from an attorney for a FERDAP, that'll suffice.
Okay. All right. Any other questions, Bernice, on the?
Yeah, the signs. What we talking about here? What signs? Where at? You mean at the park itself?
I would say that was, again, just a generic, the goal to potentially have signs for wayfaring, which is up for debate on whether or not it's allowed. Again, these are just generic. We don't have any specific projects assigned to them yet. We just need the okay to move forward to actually start doing that. We can't do that if we don't know how much we're allowed to spend.
And Bernice, for a CRA budget, you have to show that you're using all of the money. So you have to allocate it to a project.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where'd we land on that park property? We talked about the possibility of doing a quiet title, things like that. Where are we on that?
I haven't, right now, I have not worked on that quiet title. We've been focused on, this is regarding the AIPP, so I apologize, I'm kind of jumping into another subject. Working on the donut hole survey.
Okay.
We're working on, there's been multiple things that we're required to do, so it's on the
Okay.
to-do list, just haven't
All right,
reached
so
it
the park's
yet.
on the back burner then. Thank you.
Under this CRA for the airport, the only entity that could bring a request is the city, correct? It's the only property out there that's owned that's not in your lease?
Other than maybe the paint shop out there.
Okay, that's individually owned, okay.
If you know, you know.
We had, as an advisory board, we have just stayed away from this subject for 3 years because nobody ever brought a request, but we could never figure out where would the request come from. It would come from ourselves.
From you, Mr. Jarrett.
Well, I know they use that facility considerably, the park, the Dura Martin, to bring people outside of the area for tournaments and what have you, volunteers have done a nice job over the last 20 years out there. But I didn't know who brings the request and what can be done, and what other pieces of property out there could we target?
Yeah.
There's the only private property, as you referenced, is the paint shop, right? Everything else in that CRA airport is city property.
The only request I've heard of has been from the different volunteers of the league individuals. Yeah.
The league, okay. I'm just trying to define the property and where would it come from? Or if we have to go out there and,
I'm sure FAM has plenty of requests for you.
oh, I don't want to open the Pandora's box, but we
Please
can do
don't.
it.
Please don't.
I'd like to see the money rotate.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions about the airport?
No, sir.
Okay, does that conclude your presentation, Melody? Any other questions or comments for the good of the joint session here? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, please.
Seeing no opposition, we are adjourned. Does anyone need to take a break before we get into the next one? All right, we'll take 5 minutes and then we'll begin the council meeting.